Welcome to the Medlock Post radio show. I'm your host, Richard G. Medlock, and this is where we educate, entertain, enlighten, and empower. Today is July 7th, 2022, and today's episode is Goals of Marxism. Yes, Goals of Marxism. I love this song, this Days of Glory. It's just wonderful, it's just inspiring. What a wonderful start to the program today with Days of Glory, the instrumental version, of course. We are so glad to have you with us today. A beautiful day, July 7th, 2022. I was sitting here thinking, wow, it's 2022. Now, for some of you out there that were born in the 90s and the 2000s and 2010s, you say, that's no big deal. But from my generation, when coming from an era when President Harry Truman was in office, this is a big deal. I remember my dad was born in 1919. And as we approached the year 2000, the 21st century, he was astonished. He was amazed that he had lived to see this change of centuries. He was just all impressed by what was going on. And in a lot of ways, my generation is the same about what's going on today. Whether it's good or not good, it's amazing. And it really sinks into our soul. And then I wish other generations, younger generations, would learn and kind of grasp that feeling. Take in what's going on around you. It's amazing. All right. The views and opinions on the Medlock Post radio show are the views and opinions of the host. They are not necessarily the views and opinions of Spreaker.com, its corporations, affiliates, or any other podcast streaming services. We just want to cover ourselves there, folks, and cover our podcast partners. They are precious to us, and we're in talks with doing other things, growing this podcast, this broadcast, and bringing in some new partners. So this is our episode 15. I cannot believe from June 15th to July 7th that we're doing our 15th broadcast. There's so much going on, so much information that needs to be put out there for people to hear. And that's our goal. Again, to educate, entertain, enlighten, and empower. And I think we're accomplishing that. Matter of fact, I know we are. From some comments that I got back from yesterday's, hang on, I got to adjust my one ear's headset here. Okay. All right, that's better. Sorry about that. But from some comments I got from yesterday's show, or episode 14, and talking about the presidential election in 2024. And some of the comments were basically, Trump all the way, interesting analytical take on the election, to, you gave us some things to think about, etc., and things like that. Good comments. But there are also couple of comments like, Richard, you left us hanging. You gave us the pro and the con on Trump, but not your take on it. And we're going to get to that. All right, here's a quote from John Locke. He was a philosopher, very smart man, believed in freedom, believed in natural law, and many of the things that the founding fathers based their foundation on in developing the Constitution, developing this country, were from the writings of John Locke. He was a very smart man. He was in there with Adam Smith and Cicero and others when it came to putting a government together and the power of the people. And this is a quote, I've used it many times in the past. Quote, whenever legislators endeavor to take away and destroy the property of the people, or to reduce them to slavery under arbitrary power, they put themselves into a state of war with the people. You hear that? State of war with the people, who are thereupon absolved from any further obedience, unquote. There's a whole lecture in that quote, and some of that will come out today. But we, the people, have the power. So when the legislators want to take away, destroy property of the people, reduce them to slavery under arbitrary power, we don't have to be obedient because the legislators, the government, is at war with the people. Now think a minute about what's going on with our government today and has been going on for decades. Is the government of the United States of America at war with the people of the United States? Now, again, I'm not going to answer that question. You have to come to that conclusion yourself. That you need to, is the United States government at war with we the people? Go back and look at some of the Supreme Court decisions in the last few weeks, and that'll help you come up with some answers. It's simple. It's yes or no. There's no in between. It's yes or no. All right, opening monologue. For many, many years, I have spoken out against progressivism, socialism, communism, and globalism. They have proven to only bring hardship, misery, and even death to many people under its power and its curse. I will continue to speak out against these tyrannies. These isms thrive on 5 things: chaos, division, fear, hatred, and violence. We must avoid them all at all cost. Countries and cultures sometimes fall too easily into one or more of those 5 items. I am sorry to say that the United States of America has slipped under the spell of these tyrannies in some form or fashion. We need to combat these ills that have entered our beautiful land. I believe that way too many elected public servants have fallen under the beguiling spell that these tyrannies offer. It goes to the old saying, absolute power corrupts. Some in government have become a power unto themselves and have put themselves above the law. This needs to stop. The rule of law must be followed. We the people are the power. We the people formed a more perfect union, not government. We the people give them what authority or power they need, and we the people can peaceably remove that authority to act on our behalf. Constitutional bounds have been breached by many, way too many elected and non-elected public servants. We, the people, are the solution. I am not concerned with others' feelings they have for Donald Trump. I marvel at what he accomplished for America during his time as president against great odds. What I am concerned about is how so many can take their dislike, disdain, or even hatred toward one man, President Trump, and put those feelings above the good of America. Martin Luther King Jr. said, "We must learn to live together as brothers or perish together as fools." We, the people, have come to a crossroads in America. There is a proper way to move forward that can bring peace and unity back to our great nation. The founding fathers gave us the guide we need to move forward. The best, and in fact the only way, is to honor and live by the principles and values set forth in the United States Constitution. To respect each other no matter their beliefs or opinions. As Stephen Covey, author of The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, counseled, understand before being understood. Listen to one another to learn about each other. Listen to learn from each other. Reach out with a helping hand to those in need without judging. As Americans, we are capable of moving forward in this manner. That is a great challenge before us today. The rule of law must be followed. It will take time, effort, patience, patriotism, family, and much prayer and faith in God to achieve the goals of putting the principles and values of the Constitution again at the forefront and center in our nation and in our culture. I have full faith in you, the American citizens, in finding ways to move forward in a peaceful manner that will bring benefits and blessings to all who live within our borders. We, the people, are the solution. And finally, from J.R. Nost, quote, "Do not be dismayed by the brokenness of the world. All things break, and all things can be mended, not with time, as they say, but with intention. So go, love intentionally, extravagantly, unconditionally. The broken world waits in darkness for the light that is yours." Unquote. May God continue to bless this great land, America. And that's the opening monologue. All right. I'm going to address, kind of wrap up this thing with Trump, or not really wrap it up. It's going to be an ongoing discussion. As I threw out a lot of things to think about yesterday about Trump and the election. And, but I want to, let's take a look at Joe and Hunter Biden right now and how this can affect the next year or so, this year, next year, long before the election. Now, this laptop from hell, folks, it's been labeled. This stuff will not go away because the evidence is so overwhelming. Even though Zen Master Jean-Pierre, the White House spokesperson, can't keep no comment. That's not going to happen. But here are 5 things to look at here with Joe and Hunter Biden. number one, they're totally compromised by CCP at the highest level. Now, the CCP is a Chinese Communist Party. That took time, but it happened. That's a fact. Number two, that this compromise was methodical and over a long period of time. Well, I just said that, I'm sorry. Number three, I got ahead of myself. Number three, that Biden bold-faced lied to the American people at the presidential debates and subsequently. The lie was he knew nothing about Hunter Biden's business, and that has been proven total lies. Number four, the White House is going to stonewall this hard. Remember yesterday I said that Joe Biden himself went down to the committee and blocked them going after tax returns and business records of Hunter Biden and Joe Biden's brother? He himself went down, not his attorney, not Hunter Biden's attorney, he himself. That's obstruction of justice right there. Number five, this material is so overwhelming that it will engulf the Biden regime early in the next Congress, which right now it appears the Republicans will take over the House in January of 2023. Yep, 2023. Then the investigations are going to ramp up. There's Republican committees that have been investigating this, and they have mounds, folks, of evidence. Not like Robert Mueller, who had nothing on Trump. They already have evidence. But with the Democrats in charge, nothing's going to happen. All right, let me run something else by you concerning Joe Biden. And yes, we're going to get to Trump. Hang on, but this is important. And this is a discussion that took place in the political community right after Joe Biden was so-called elected. And I know some of you are laughing at that. Anyway, I said yesterday that Joe thought his political days were over after the anointed one, Hillary, lost the election in 2016. He just, okay, I'm done. And many thought that Joe would, and then after this, and after he's elected, many thought that Joe would not make it past the first year. Well, he has, year and a half. Yet here we are. A few weeks ago, the Democratic Socialists were discussing his age and mental capacity. Now, that kind of disappeared when the Supreme Court jumped all over the news and still does. And I warned you that could be a ploy to use Trump if he ran. His age, his mental capacity, etc. For discussion's sake, let's say Joe Biden is removed for office, whether by his own party or impeachment. Impeachment is probably unlikely since there might not be enough votes to reach 67 in the Senate. However, if the party wants to get rid of him and they tell their senators to vote for impeachment, it happens. Or do they pull what they did on Richard Nixon? Total blank there, okay? And the party went to him and said, look, they're going to impeach you, and there's enough Republicans that are going to vote for it. Why don't you just resign? So that's an option that could happen. So another Richard Nixon taking place here. All right, so then who becomes president? Kamala Harris. So are we better off? But the question isn't, are we going to be better off? Who would she bring in as her vice president? Hillary Clinton? Chuck Schumer? Elizabeth Warren? Susan Rice? Bernie Sanders? Pete Buttigieg? How about Gavin Newsom out of California, governor of California? He's looking like he wants to run for president, the candidate for Democrats for 2024. Bring him in and put him in a position that he could run for president. I don't think he'd get elected. How about Michelle Obama? What about, hang on, Barack Obama? Could she bring him in as vice president? But Richard, he served 2 terms as president. You can't be president for more than 2 terms. Folks, this isn't president. This is vice president. And there's nothing in the Constitution about this. And if there's lawsuits, it will go to the Supreme Court, and they'd have to make a decision. Kind of interesting, isn't it? Pushing the envelope here with Barack Obama as vice president. Now then, what would happen if something happened to Kamala Harris before 2024? Could Barack Obama again become president for the rest of that term? He couldn't run again, although I'm sure they would try to do that. But all of a sudden, could he be president? Or the Constitution says, nope, you can't be president again. And then you're sitting there with nobody in the White House, and the Speaker of the House becomes president. They're the third in line, or actually second in line from the president. So if the Republicans control the House, then you have a Republican in as president. You see how complicated this could get? This is what crazy thinking gets you, folks. I don't know if it's crazy, but never underestimate what the Democrat socialists are going to do. Okay, Donald J. Trump. He was a great president. Fought battle after battle after battle, but look what he achieved. Look what he was able to get done for the American people, for the United States of America as a country. Those battles continue. I talked about this in episode 14. There is baggage there. So hold on. Don't start throwing rotten tomatoes at me yet, you Trump supporters. Hear me out and think about it. Because your votes are still mightily important under the proposal I'm going to make here. Donald Trump is out there running around fundraising, supporting great candidates, getting them through the primaries, and possibly getting them elected in November. That is his strength right now. That is his strength. And I need to make a note. I couldn't remember it this morning. Let me write this down before I forget. All right, I wrote it down. Let me continue. So take the strength of Donald Trump and put it to good use. Let him continue to rally and seek out good candidates for 2024. Let him be out there just talking about America, talking about that America First agenda. be the American cheerleader in bringing the Constitution back to full force, but not running for president. The baggage could be so big that it might cause that the GOP would lose the election in 2024. Can you see that picture? His baggage, especially if he announces he's going to run for president, they are going to take criminal charges against him. You can take that to the bank, folks, and that will stop him right there. But use his strength to just continue to rally the troops, even if it goes as far as starting the MAGA party or the Great American Party or whatever they want to call it. Because that is a movement, folks. It's a little bit different than in 2010. You know, we've been taxed enough. Okay, taxed enough already, the Tea Party. That kind of faded away. This isn't fading away. Americans are sick and tired of what Washington, D.C. is doing to us. Let Donald Trump lead that fight at the top, but not as president. Because they're going to keep going after him and stonewall it. And like I said yesterday, they're going to bog down Congress. These GOP socialists will make sure it bogs down. And that's not what we need. We need things to move forward according to the Constitution, get some of these bad bills done away with, get the agencies, government agencies, under control, and even shut some of them down, which Trump tried to do, and he did. He got them reduced to nothing. But then Biden came in and built them back up again, and they're raising havoc out there. So this is my proposal. Let him keep doing what he's doing. And I think what happens by doing that, the Democratic Socialists and the GOP Socialists are going to get tired of making fools out of themselves, going after him and his family and his businesses and his staff when he was in the White House, and say, okay, enough's enough. We got these other battles to fight, and not go after him. It takes a lot of things away from them in the election of 2024. It takes a lot of their ammunition away. It really does. Now, here's another thing that's been thrown around is some people in the House, Kevin McCarthy has brought it up, that when the House takes over in January of 2023, that they elect Donald J. Trump as Speaker of the House. And you say, how can they do that? In the Constitution, the Speaker of the House does not have to be an elected representative. It just has to be a citizen of the United States of America. So Donald J. Trump falls into that category. So Kevin McCarthy has thrown out the idea, and others have kind of jumped on it. Well, let's vote him in as Speaker of the House. Now, I think that's a shame, because that would limit Donald J. Trump in moving forward. And Kevin McCarthy is one of those GOP socialists, formerly rhinos, that's trying to tie his hands. Now, of course, Trump can turn it down, and I think he would. Now, some of the thinking is, well, we'll get him in as Speaker of the House, then we'll impeach Biden and Harris, and then Trump can go back into the White House. Well, folks, that's a long shot. And if they're trying to do that, you're not going to have the votes in the Senate to impeach Biden and Harris. Now, have they done a lot of impeachable offenses? The answer to that is a resounding yes. They have just trampled on their oath. They have trampled on the Constitution and on the rights of American citizens. Phew. This is exciting stuff, folks. I love it. I think there's a lot of excitement going forward, and I'm trying to get you excited. I'm trying to get you to think. Now, I know you strong Trump supporters have those rotten tomatoes in your hands ready to throw at me. And that's fine. Throw them. I can take it. But when you start putting the pieces together, that makes sense. By Trump just leading the movement, he takes the ammunition away from the other that the Democrats would have against the presidential candidate. Other than, they followed Trump. They were part of his staff, et cetera, et cetera. Well, people are going to look back and say, you know what? But that staff, that administration did a lot of great things for America. And a lot of Democrats and Hispanics and independents and Republicans are tired of what is happening in Washington, D.C. right now. And they want it to stop. They want it to stop. So that's my take on the 2024 election and Donald J. Trump's position. And folks, I have not talked to him. I have not talked to anybody in his camp. This is just me thinking and putting some pieces together that might be very successful for the future. Phew. There's so much to talk about, ladies and gentlemen. All right. This week I've been doing a lot of preparation. I mean, let's say I did a show Tuesday, Wednesday. Now this is Thursday. I'm going to do at least one more this week. I feel like I'm just on a roll. I wake up in the middle of the night with thoughts coming to my head. I'm doing research. I'm reading some new books that are outstanding. And some of these books were written in the 60s and 70s, but their message is just as good today. And I should give you guys the name of some of these books. The one book, of course, is A 5,000-Year Leap by Cleon Skousen, if you really want to understand the Constitution. And it's on Amazon. You can buy the book or you can buy the ebook. A lot of times I get both. If I'm somewhere, I can just pull it up on my phone and just read. All righty. Our next segment. What's the title of the show? The Goals of Marxism. Now, I can tell right now the stuff I have planned for this show is going to go into another show. Because I don't want to go 2 hours today, and I don't think you want to listen to me for 2 hours. All right, the goals of Marxism. There are 10 planks of Karl Marx's Communist Manifesto. And those 10 planks, their sole purpose, is to seize power and destroy freedom. You understand that. To seize power from the people or from any existing government and destroy freedom. And you say, how can that happen in America? Well, it's happening. Here is, let me get my cheat sheet out here. Yeah, I can't remember everything, folks. Today's program, the stuff that I have totally planned, is 11 printed sheets. All right. Like I said, a lot of this is going to roll over. All right, number one on Karl Marx, number 10, is 10 planks. Abolition of property in land and application of all rents of land to public purpose. So we're going to take your property, we're going to take your rents, and it will go to public purpose. So that means whoever is in charge will decide where that money goes. Now, you say, how are they going to do that? Well, let me give you some suggestions that's happening within our government that's been going on for decades. High property taxes. Really? Yeah. Restrictive zoning laws. Fair housing edicts. Now, yeah, we want to be fair and not discriminate and stuff, but some of these fair housing edicts go way beyond fair. Environmental and wetlands regulations. Now, on June 30th, the Supreme Court said, you've gone way too far in controlling that. And a lot of us agree. Have you ever heard of the United Nations Agenda 21? This is about land control worldwide, and we're going to get into that after I do the planks, because you need to understand what's happening from the United Nations standpoint, and this isn't brand new. This goes back a ways. Number 2, a heavy progressive or graduated income tax. Wow. Oh, let's tax the rich. Let's tax the corporations. Joe Biden stood there 2 weeks ago telling the energy corporations, you need to pay your taxes. Well, Exxon Energy had just got through paying $44 billion in taxes for 2021. $44 billion. That did not include the money that went out in stock dividends, did not include the interest on any loans, and so forth. So Joe Biden stood there and lied to the energy companies. They pay their taxes. Number 3, abolition of all rights of inheritance. We talked a little bit about this in episode 14. Confiscation of estate tax. Let's just go after the rich, so their estate, their business doesn't go to their family. Their family's either got to sell it off or come up with the money, and we're just going to destroy it. That's the word abolition. Number 4. Confiscation of the property of immigrants and rebels. Really? So when immigrants and rebels, let's say rebels are illegals, come into the country, we're just going to take everything they have, which most of them don't have much. But we're going to take it. And you're going to depend on the government to live. Number 5. Now, here, let's go back to number 4. Lawless application of asset forfeiture and eminent domain. Eminent domain is supposed to be for the good of the area, not taking it so somebody can get rich. And we've seen that over and over and over. And we've seen court cases where they lose, and then that person has to pay back, or no, the city or the county or the state has to pay the person they took it from more money than they would have got if they just sold it outright. Okay, number 5, centralization of credit in the hands of the state by means of a national bank with state capital and an exclusive monopoly. Folks, Federal Reserve. We've talked about that and we'll continue to talk about it. The Federal Trade Commission. TARP, which came out under Obama. And another thing to look at right now is the digital currency. Watch that, folks. I'll talk about more of that in another show. Number 6, centralization of means of communication and transport in the hands of the state. The FCC, Federal Communications Commission, Department of Transportation, FEMA, OSHA. They can basically come in and shut you down if they don't like you, whether you're doing anything wrong or not. Number 7, extension of factories and instruments of production owned by the state, the bringing into cultivation of wastelands, and the improvement of the soil generally in accordance with a common plan. Not an individual plan, not a family plan, not a business plan, but a common plan. That means those in power will make the decisions. The FDA, Food and Drug, the EPA, which just got hammered, OSHA again, ICC, National Labor Relations Board, which is a joke, the EEOC. They control these things. Number 8, liability of all labor, establishment of industrial armies, especially for agriculture. Public sector unions, SEIU, or is it SIEU? Unionization of 21 million Obamacare healthcare workers. Remember that? Obama unionized them. Automatic withholding of forced union dues. Now that's been ruled against. Card checks for unions. Oh, the things we can talk about in the Obama administration. And we will. Don't go away. Number 9, combination of agriculture with manufacturing industries, gradual abolition of the distinction between town and country by a more equitable distribution of the population over the country. SNAP, EITC, SSI, and other programs. But also Agenda 21. Agenda 21 applies to several of the things I've read so far. Okay, number 10, public education for all children in public schools. Abolition of children's factory labor in its present form. Combination of education with industrial production. Say what? Food and health care, folks. Cell phones. Internet access. We can add in here the National Education Association union. Other education teachers unions. This is part of the 10 planks of Karl Marx's Communist Manifesto and how it's being implemented. Wow. Oh, So much. So much. Okay, Karl Marx, the goals of Marxism. That we just covered that. I just looked up at the time. We're already 46 minutes into this session. So I think I'm just going to do one or two little short things. Maybe one thing. I know you're dying to hear about the United Nations Agenda 21. But let's move that forward, and then I'll tie it back together. There's not enough time. I don't want to drag this out today. There's not enough time to go through that and tie it to the 10 planks of Communist Manifesto. But I want to bring in some other things to kind of show you, again, how communism has influenced what's going on in America right now. Now, if you hear a funny noise, there's some pressure washers out there doing some stuff outside my house. And they're getting ready to paint the house. So they're pressure washing it first. So I'm sorry if you hear hissing or something like that. That's not me. All right, it's not me. Under the one of the 10, it was number 4, confiscation of the property of immigrants and rebels. Well, here's a message to you rebels out there. And my pages are flipping all over. And I have to put on my glasses to read this, folks. To you rebels, this is for ones that see through the deception and lies, that actively resist tyranny and live a life which is led by their own intuition and heart. They are owned by no one. To the brave women who courageously risk their reputation and relationships to stand up for what they believe in. Although they may be courageous, they are also selfless, intuitive, and conscious. They care, they love, they fight, not only for their freedom, but for everyone's freedom. To the rebels of the world, keep roaring. So I guess I'm a rebel of the world. Don't throw that sheet away yet. I still need it. All right, let me kind of wrap this up here today with talking about Stuart Chase. And I know you're scratching your head. Who is Stuart Chase? I don't know a Stuart Chase. I went to school with a Stuart Chase, not the same one. He died in 1942. So I'm sure some of you don't know him. However, he ended up being a big advisor to Franklin Delano Roosevelt. He was an American economist and engineer trained at MIT. His writings and general semantics covered everything and even physical economy. His background of engineering and economics, kind of a hybrid thing, put him in the same philosophy camp as Buckminster Fuller. Chase's thoughts were shaped by Henry George, Thorstein Veblen, and Fabian socialism. Now, I know you've probably never heard of those people. Henry George, Thorstein, Thorstein, Veblen, Veblen, and Fabian, Fabian, like the singer from the 60s. Fabian socialism. Now, he had a wide range of reform causes: the single tax, women's suffrage, birth control, and socialism. He loved socialism. And he criticized corporate advertising. He thought it was evil. And he advocated for consumer protection, which we got from Barack Obama. Ha ha. Yeah, right. Although not a Marxist, Chase admired the planned economy of the Soviet Union. He visited there in 1927 and he said, quote, "The Russians in a time of peace have answered the question of what an economic system is for," unquote. Well, we know it's to control the people. A lot of people attribute the phrase or the expression, a New Deal, to Stuart Chase as economic advisor to President Franklin Delano Roosevelt. He wrote an article in the New Republic, quote, "A New Deal for America," unquote. Now, and then when Roosevelt gave his speech in 1932, his acceptance speech, he was promising a new deal. All right. But in 1942, Stuart Chase wrote a book called The Road We Are Traveling. And he spelled out the system of planning the Fabians had in mind. The interesting thing is to look at the plan in comparison to 2022 America. Okay, I know you're mad at me for not getting to Agenda 21, but let me wrap this up and we'll start with Agenda 21 on episode 16, I promise you. I'm not doing this just to keep you hanging on, folks. There's just so much to cover and so little time. All right, in this book, the road, what's the name of it? The Road We Are Traveling. I knew that. I just had to look it up, make sure I get it right. Number 1, strong, centralized government. Is that a tenet of Marxism? Yes. 2, powerful executive at the expense of Congress and the judicial. Well, that's been achieved to a certain extent. To a certain extent, that's been achieved. 3, government-controlled banking, credit, and securities exchange. Does it sound like he read the 10 Planks of Marxism? Sure does. Number 6, universal medical care, food, and housing programs. Now, we really can't call it universal medical care, but we have the Affordable Care Act, or Obamacare. Food and housing programs. Oh my gosh. Free housing, subsidized housing, HUD housing, food programs, SNAP, WIC, and others, controlled by the government. 7, access to unlimited government borrowing. Get this? Access to unlimited government borrowing. Not only borrowing, but printing. And that's what's causing inflation in America today. 8, a managed monetary system. Yes, through the Federal Reserve. And other regulations and laws that are passed that are bad. Number 9, government control over foreign trade. Yes, Federal Trade Commission. Number 10, government control over natural energy sources, transportation, and agricultural production. Man, this is right out of Marx's book, isn't it? Number 11, government regulation of labor. Number 12, youth camps devoted to health, discipline, community service, ideological teaching consistent with those of the authorities. Sadly to say, in today's America, the ideological teaching consistent with those of the authorities is perversion, promiscuity. And this is happening. You read every day about some camp somewhere that these kids are supposed to go to, and it turned out to be a transgender camp to get them to switch over. 13, heavy progressive taxation. Now, this was in 1942, and he was Franklin Delano Roosevelt's advisor. Excuse me, he died in 1942. These things started being implementing very heavily during Roosevelt's term of office. And with people like Stuart Chase and others in his administration that were either Marxist or socialist, these things started happening. All right. Thank you today. We're almost at an hour. And I could go on. I really could, and I'm sure you're sitting there going, please, please, please. But I do have some appointments to go to. Thank you for your support, for your listening, for all that you're doing to keep America great, to fight the good fight, to stand up and speak up, to be the rebel, to fight for freedom, to fight for others and their freedom, to do the things necessary that we need to do to save America. The next episode will be UN Agenda 21. It will blow your mind. It is nothing but short of globalism. Ladies and gentlemen, that's it, folks. That's the Medlock Post radio show for today. May God bless America.